Okay, ready?
No.
All right, let me know when you're ready. I got your picture here now.
Now I'm ready.
All right, calling to order the committee of the whole for the Village of Roscoe meeting for Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. Have a roll call, please.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malco,
Here.
Petty, here, Lima,
Here.
Wright,
Here.
Gustafson. Present.
Item 1 is approval of the minutes from the April 2nd, 2024 committee of the whole meeting. A motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Simon and second by trustee White or Wright. Roll call.
Babcock,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Malco.
Yes.
Any public comments? Chance to be on the floor. No public comment. We got old business, new business. Is item 2, discussion and recommendation of approving a 3-year extension to the park usage agreement with State Line Baseball Inc. for the use of Leland Park and Porter Park. So go through December 31st, 2027. Summarize these two agreements in the staff report. Essentially, we've got agreements with these two organizations. These two one organization, they've split. They're the ones who operate the youth baseball and youth softball programs in those parks. As listed. What you'll see is we've done this for a few years now, but the original agreement was put in place in 2018, was a 3-year agreement. Because they have to make plans and they plan their years, ahead of time. They have to figure out where they're going to be, and finding parks for those size programs is difficult. These are 3-year agreements that we essentially renew every year for an additional year. So if approved by the board, there'll always be 3 years in place, 3-year extension in place. If at some point the board said, you know what, we don't want these groups as part, for using these parks as part of their programs, you just wouldn't approve the agreements, and then they would have about 3 years to find new locations. That's why they're structured this way, sort of a different way of doing it, but it allows them to find new facilities if needed. These agreements have not been renewed in several years at this point. So these are both on for 3-year extensions. They both expire on December 31st, 2027. So for item 2, I have a motion to approve the agreement with State Line Baseball Inc. I send to the board for approval for the use of Leland Park and Porter Park through December 31st, 2027.
I have a question.
Yep, we do a motion first and we can discuss it.
I'm so moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion by trustee Petty, second by trustee Malco. Questions or discussion?
More or less have questions on number 3.
It's fine.
Which one? Well,
We can wait. Yeah, I guess we can wait until we get to that point. All right. So a motion second on item number 2. Can I have a roll call, please?
Wright,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malco.
Yes.
Petty.
Yes. Okay, item number 3, discussion and recommendation of approving a 3-year extension to the park usage agreement for State Line Fast Pitch Softball Inc. for the continued use of Swanson Park through December 31st, 2027.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Malco,
Second.
second by trustee Babcock. Any discussion or questions?
Is there the opportunity to either question these folks on some of the agreement topics subject in those? There's a number of different things going on out at Swanson as far as visiting teams coming here and paying payment for passes for the year. Do we regulate any of that? Do we get any of that? There seems to be a lot of
We do not. So for Swanson Park, we essentially have it's essentially like a lease almost for the use of that park. They maintain, operate the park, they operate the programs, scheduling. We maintain some of the facilities and Troy can probably answer some of those questions about those, but generally it's turned over to them for that. They have a lease on that. They have exclusive use of that,
Right.
facility.
So it's,
Other two, they're not exclusive, but for Swanson, they've got exclusive use of that.
so when there's posters all over the, like, our buildings, our equipment, and are we gaining any sponsorship money from everything that's up there? Does that go to them?
Yeah, that goes to them.
So they're allowed to put sponsorship banners all over our equipment and they get the money.
We have advertising. We used to have advertising. We used to watch
We used
them.
to review the
We used to, yeah. So they have the right
That's
to,
that's my better question.
We used
What's
to
the-
review them,
yeah.
but I don't know why
We
we.
did it in Leland, we did it in Leland, but I don't recall that.
So they can,
Yeah, because there were some questionable ones that both.
Yeah.
And I know
So for
we pushed
the-
back before.
for advertising signing, they have the right to erect advertising signage on the ball diamond, outfield fences, and such other locations as Swanson Park is maybe approved by the village. So they are allowed to put advertising on there. I think they are supposed to provide, we asked them to, they are supposed to provide us the sort of what that looks like, what advertisements are going there. We can ask them for
Any
that, and show us those.
Graphics.
But generally, they can advertise how they want. No, and we do restrict, adult subject matter as the appropriate subject matter for a viewing audience consisting of children and families, because that's what that park is. But we do not, no tobacco, no alcohol products, but other than that, generally, we don't.
So we can ask for the
We
copies.
can ask for
of
what,
the
correct,
signage
yes, we can ask for
For
them.
both entities. Are you through?
Yeah, I'll stop.
So would you like to see the signage?
Yes,
Absolutely. And I'd like to see a cost as well.
Cost of what?
What they're obviously being provided with promotional money for that.
you mean,
North Point pays them to put their banner up there as one of them. There's several of them out there. How much money are they making off of our park?
They are required to file with us. They can, their charitable organization annual reports, so that should have that information.
the 501.
Those are, we get those, we haven't asked them recently because they're available online, but we can make them give us a hard copy. We'll request that from them. We'll request, so before the next board meeting, or before the board meeting, we'll request that they provide us the advertising as well as their financial report.
I guess I'm not gonna stop. Surprise. Entry fees. I've heard some outside. Let me say outside of the area people. Who come here. For tournaments out of town or even from Rockford. That pay. A pretty substantial amount of money to get in. To that facility. I know there's been some question about the park that's out there, whether that's public or whether that's kind of pay to play. Is that what you're?
So the playground facility is free, is not part of the exclusive use. So they have exclusive use of the Swanson Park fields, so the
Ball
behind
fields.
that ball fields area through those gates essentially. The playground itself, is part of it, is still village park. Their use of that Swanson Park facility may not interfere with public use of the Swanson Park playground. And the playground shall be open to general public at all times, free of charge. So if somebody's going in just to use the playground, they cannot charge for that. I know we had people at one point mention that to us. I don't think we've ever verified that people were ever being charged to go in playgrounds. I think they were going in there and being asked if they were there for the game or if they were there for the playground. But absolutely, they can go to the playground there free of charge. However, the Swanson Park Diamonds, that field itself, they are allowed to entry.
I'm gonna interject something. I got a call last summer. And it was from an administrator at Hannigan. Whose kids are involved
in playing ball in Rockford at Roy Gale. And somehow they ended up playing up here at Swanson Park. They were charged, parents were charged to get in. And see, they're thinking that, well, I signed my kid up for baseball through Roy Gale, why am I paying some other entity? You know, and why is my kid playing up here? This is what I told her, because I went through the contract and I may have contacted you, Joe, on this. I finally said, listen, you can go in and use the playground for free. So go in, go to the playground and then just kind of walk around and sit in the bleachers. Now, that might not be ethical.
That'd be a breach of our contract, so we're not gonna encourage that, but.
I knew you were gonna say
Well,
that.
because it is, they said, they are allowed, they have exclusive use of that part. We lease it to them, we don't have to, right? It expires, you don't have to do that. But as of right now, that's what they have. The playground is free, anybody can go to the playground. My response would be to that would be talk to Rick Gale, right? Have the parents talk to their people who are they're signing up with. And with that organization and say, we don't want you to use the Swanson market. But that's, we're, point of this is that we're sort of keeping ourselves out of the running of that. It's not a village program, it's not a village tournaments, it's not a village events. It's, we're at least essentially leasing it out to them to use for those.
What's the lease charge that we possibly lease?
They
This,
contribute.
I guess the question really is that the concern is that they're charging some exorbitant fee after leasing the park from us for attendance, but there may be costs that related to what they're doing.
Well, they contribute $3,500. That's the nominal cost of leasing the park and getting exclusive use. What they are also responsible for is all of the maintenance there. So those are their costs. But if it is something that the village owns, for example, what the concession stand, we have some responsibility, but not.
Yeah.
But the program, all of the costs, like the diamonds and all of that kind of stuff and the mowing, they do. And they have also been.
So they do
good-
incur costs.
And they've also been partners in, they will make periodic contributions to the village of Roscoe of additional dollars, usually $500. And at this point, I don't know how much that was for
It was
2023, I forgot.
It was 2,500.
But some of that is also to offset what the village has put in for their use, but it's also our property. For example, if the heating or cooling breaks down or you need a plumbing repair or something, that is example. But perhaps what we need to find out from them is in their program, just when do they charge and how much do they charge and who do they charge?
Yeah.
I would like
Yes.
to know that.
Yes.
I agree with that.
It'd be nice to know where it goes. to.
Yeah, make sure it's a
That's
fair
true. So
price so
we
we can
look at
support
the
if somebody
quotes.
calls.
Yeah. What is coming in and where is it going?
Yes,
Is it going
thank
back
you.
to the program? Or is it paying somebody's,
Thank you.
right?
Thank
There you
you.
go.
And they may, I have no idea, they may subsidize some of the equipment for the youngsters involved. I have no idea, but until we know
Yeah.
where it comes and where it goes.
When there's not a game, and you know, that scheduled game is the fields open to Roscoe residents, people can go,
No.
so nobody can touch that field at all. Go
Swanson
on.
Park is, the other two they can, the other two are just, as, yeah.
So they lease it, they have it full.
For that
But not
particular field.
Quarter, like if there's no games. just
Correct,
go up
Porter
and
Park is open
people in the
public,
neighborhood can go
Right,
and
yeah.
play.
yeah.
And Honolulu still plays ball there, girls,
Yes.
right?
And there are,
Somebody
what,
said-
4 organizations in this that are allowed to use it at no cost. I don't
I think,
know, when I was doing
um,
it, South Beloit is one
Yeah,
too.
I think Rock Valley College is one.
Maybe Rockland University. It's in the agreement.
Honolulu High School, Harlem High School, Rock Valley College, and South Beloit High School.
If they have a tournament flag, they are allowed to use that too. At no cost. But then I don't know if they charge the parents. Going,
See that
Otherwise-
coming?
we don't know that, so we'll answer.
Right, yeah. Do we,
Not roll call.
yeah, we'll vote on that. This will be to send the recommendation for the 3 extension, for Gateway Basketball softball.
Contingent on
Uh,
that information or.
this will be a recommendation of the board on that. I will bring that to the next board meeting, and at that point, you can decide if that's, you want to approve it.
Can we lay it over?
We could have board level. Let's get it to the board, and then if we don't get that stuff, we can lay it over.
All right.
That'd be my recommendation.
Ready for roll call?
Yes, please.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malco,
Yes,
Petty,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item number 4 is discussion and recommendation to the board for approval of a variance to increase the width of a driveway from 24 feet to 29 feet at the property line, extending to the existing garage at 738 Ballymore Road, in Roscoe. And this, was at the ZBA last week, and this was recommended to be denied by the ZBA, 2-5 votes. I think Elias is on. Still, what was on?
Correct.
This is our zoning consultant, Elias. He can give you a brief summary of what this is and what the request is, and then what action this board needs to take.
All right, good evening, everyone. So as Joe mentioned last week, we recommended denial of the variance request for the expansion of this driveway beyond the standards that exist for residential driveway design standards within the village's code. The ZBA ultimately did find that there was not sufficient justification for variance, which is codified in state statute, and ultimately an unnecessary physical hardship that affects the practical use of the property due to a unique physical circumstance or condition of the site itself is required in order to justify the request for a variance. So a practical difficulty cannot, or a physical hardship can't include a situation that's been created by a property owner, nor be due to the property owner's personal circumstances. And the conditions upon which a variance is requested ultimately have to be unique to the property itself, generally not applicable to other properties within the same zoning district. So the request was for a variance from, as I mentioned, the residential driveway design standards. Those are in section 155.3.4. And those ultimately state that a residential driveway must not exceed 24 feet in width at the property line. My understanding is that before the village adopted a new zoning code in 2021, the previous maximum driveway width for residential districts was 30 feet, but the village had officially adopted as of 2021 a reduced maximum standard not to exceed 24 feet. And so what that ultimately achieves is essentially for each car going up to a 2-car garage would be a 12-foot width aisle, which is the equivalent of basically the width of a standard highway lane. So providing enough space for 2 cars to maneuver to and from the 2 bays within a 2-car garage effectively was, I think, sort of the recommendation behind, or the, I guess, reasoning behind having an ultimately established 24-foot maximum width. And so the ultimate intent of establishing this kind of maximum driveway width is to try and minimize, to the extent possible, the amount of hardscape occurring in residential neighborhoods, which is a decision that was made by the village in an attempt to create more desirable residential neighborhood character, more green space, less hardscape generally. And so the standards that were requested a variance from were the 24-foot max. The code also has a provision to allow for additional paved areas to accommodate access to garages that exceed over two bays. So in this instance, a three-car garage exists. There are provisions within the code as it exists today to allow for paved area to run continuously from the full width of the garage, all three bay doors, and then taper down over a distance of 20 feet from the garage doors within a 10-foot distance back down to that maximum driveway width of 24 feet, thus allowing continuous access to and from up to a three-car garage or even beyond that standard if it were possible. So again, the request was for relief from these standards, and the ZBA ultimately found that there was no justification based on both the village and state codified criteria that are required to justify a variance.
Thank you.
Who is that was just speaking to?
This is Elias, who is our, well,
Zoning,
zoning consultants.
Yes, I don't believe I've had a
I'm
chance
gonna
to
put his
introduce
video up
myself.
here, sorry, I don't have you, I had the, there you go, now you're full screen.
Oh.
This is Elias.
Good evening, everyone.
Now you're on the entire screen, you see.
Oh, wow.
Here you go.
Nothing here.
Yes, so, yeah, see, this is our new zoning consultants from Vanderbilt.
Okay, so do we need a motion and then second in order for me to make my comments? Because I have
Correct, yep,
a strong opinion about this.
yep. So you make a motion, it'd be a motion to approve the variance. A motion to approve the variance from 24 feet to 29 feet.
What really to approve is to send it to the board, right?
Oh, sorry, this is in work, correct. I recommend it for approval. So motion by,
Yeah.
what's it back, guys? Any second,
Second.
second by, trustee Stein.
Okay, so comments?
Yep,
So here's my issue with this. Understand, I talked to Dane, who's on the zoning board, and actually two of the people voted for this, but Dane specifically, when he read the ordinance, which was laid out in 21, specifically changed it from 30 to 24 feet. I wasn't here in 21. I don't know why that was changed, but in my opinion, it's like this, if you drive around the neighborhood, you see lots of people that have extended their driveways out. Maybe that was before the code. And in Hawks Point, we have a neighborhood driveway that exceeds the code, which we all know. And that driveway is the best looking driveway in the neighborhood. It's cost over $30,000. I have no problem with this, 2 doors down from where Hawks Point is. If you have a 3-car garage and then you force people to drive into this 24-foot fit, even in my house in Goosedown, you cannot get a car out without moving 2 other cars because you've got to force the driveway because so my opinion here is, well, I believe Dane did the correct thing by sending it to us, but to me, the variance needs to be changed, or I have a very clear lack of understanding of why it got changed to 24 feet and 21. Because to me, this is clearly got $400,000 houses, and you gotta have a 20, this is not a highway, so. Okay, maybe that's what you do on a highway, it's 24 feet, but we're talking about expensive houses with 3-car garage. Lots of people we have more than 3 cars a car, that it's a pain in the butt not to be able to have a drive directly up. If you got a garage, you should be able to drive in straight without having to move other cars in order to jockey into your garage. That's my position on this.
I have a 3-car garage and papered on the bottom, come back up into the flat where you can move cars around. So I guess, I don't know how far a runway you have to be able to maneuver there. But,
Your house is in a little bit different area of the town.
but I'm just saying, that's,
It's a
Sort of the-
lot shorter square feet that between the house, I don't know, the setback maybe 50 feet, but it's a straight shot. It's not a curved driveway in front of your.
is there
Situation.
curb in front of this house?
No, no.
I drove the neighborhood today, I had a picture of the house in question. There's a house just down the street, about 3 houses, it's got probably 3.5 car. They've got all three plus.
I
What do you-
don't know,
what do you call
many
it?
of those, I don't know about the specific one, many of ours, people do without coming for permits, so.
That's what I'm
we-
saying.
not-
And here's a gentleman's coming actually for a permit, everybody else
Absolutely.
has gotten away with it, that's why, to me, the ordinance is incorrect.
And so we're.
We need to make a
Ordinance
motion to
is-
change the ordinance.
And that's absolutely, yeah, that's something that we should do, absolutely, you can do that, if that's something the board wants to do. But what we're trying to do is,
One of us wants to do.
well, it's what you want to do, but that, so with the variances, as Lance mentioned, it's not following the ordinance, right? It's saying there's some reason at this particular property, we should not follow the ordinance. If the ordinance is wrong, or the board says, you know what, we're fine, we want to have, lots of parking spaces or lots of concrete, then, those changes.
Yeah, I would object to that statement based on when I talked to Dane earlier today, and says, no, Dane objected to it because he said, we, the zoning board, are not in a position to change the
Correct.
ordinance. So he says, that's the only reason why I voted no, it should be us to change the ordinance.
Yeah, you would,
And that's my position, make a motion to change the ordinance or to review the ordinance and understand better, because right now, based on my position, is I'd like to understand why did it go from 24 to 30 feet? We got big expensive houses, lots of 3-car garages, and we're constraining it. It actually looks worse to have this little diagonal, because what happens is people drive over that, it's grass, you can't keep grass alive. Enough said.
Their opinions?
I agree with Dan. I was there for the meeting.
Second motion that we're looking for.
But,
and the motion right now is to approve the variance, so it sounds like deny the variance, but then.
The
look at
motion I'm
code.
making is to change the ordinance in order to then make this variance possible.
Decision.
And I'll
So-
say there might be things we have to change the ordinance that we weren't thought about then, but right now, in order to make this work, this is not the only one. There's another house in Denali that's gonna come forward as well. He's got a dirt pile next to him and he can't do a
Do you want to lay this over until we can review and change the ordinance?
ordinance. Yeah, because I don't think we can approve the variance here because I think the correct thing to do is change the ordinance so that people can do this. Now, we might want to do in the ordinance, put in some stipulations so we don't have people, for example, I don't think the gentleman here wants to have his RV there all year. I don't think we want to have that, but for what he's asking for is, to me, it makes sense,
I have a couple of questions. How wide is it for a 3-car garage? If one were to start hardscape, asphalt concrete across the front of 3-car garage bays, how wide is that area?
Well, your garage door typically is 11 feet wide and you usually have 2 feet on either.
Yeah, you're thinking 12 feet, 12.
Probably 12 feet, but
36,
sometimes,
36 feet,
It goes there.
36 feet. And back to the prior to 2021 30-foot width. Did that mean 30 feet all the way down with a 2-foot flare on each side, or did it mean
it's
20?
at the road, I think is what it means, is when it gets to the road, that's the dimension, because you can, all of these driveways expand beyond that to the garage.
Let me address really quick, because Brandon reviews the driveway permit.
Yep, so I guess what's the first question? What the ordinance used to be?
Yes, and prior to, I hear the year 2021 and 30 feet. Did 30 feet mean including the 2-foot flare on both sides so that it
Yeah.
could be 26?
Correct, so-
wide all the way down with a 2-foot flare each side?
That's correct. So the way the ordinance was written is for 3-car garages, they were allowed 30 feet. There was no stipulation on where that 30 feet needed to stop. It was allowed to go all the way to the road. The way the ordinance was written is that property owners were granted an additional 2.5 to 5 feet, whatever they decided, for flares on each side of the road. The way it was technically written was an additional 5 to 10 feet split equally on each side of the driveway for radius flares, is the way that it was written before. Our new code stipulates that it's the property line, which is pretty standard for most ordinance updates nowadays, is that the width at the property line is really the factor that the municipalities want to enforce. But yes, you are correct. The 30-foot is allowed to go all the way to the roadway and an additional up to 5 feet flares on each side of the direct driveway.
Well, like you, in my subdivision, my street, half of them go all the way from the garage base all the way to the road. The other half do not, but I don't know if they were pre-2021 or under what circumstances it happened.
And the reason this has changed really because just not having as much concrete, having not as much, you know, we have driveways that are not even paved, it's there's stone driveways.
So our goal is right now, we've been working on Brandon and Elias and Janelle, myself, Vic, we're trying to enforce uniformly, consistently across the board. So we will be sending out, and we'll provide this to the board here, but we'll be sending out letters about the driveways are not paved. Our goal is to try to have those paved in the next couple of years. Give property owners time. We don't want to force things on people and say, yep, tomorrow you have to have this stuff. But also we're trying to get things brought up to the standard that we have in the code as is.
Well,
We've
then,
also started to review driveway permits as part of the residential zoning permits. Previously, those were not being reviewed as part of when you came in to build a house. Your driveway wasn't being reviewed at that portion of it. So it was up to the contractor or the developer to come in after that and show us what they were doing and hope that they would follow the rules. Many did not. So now we are required them to submit all those submittals to us at the time that you get a permit. So we're trying to be consistent. We're trying to make it uniform, and we're trying to really treat everybody fairly across the board. So you should know what the rule is. You should know, how you do it. And if there is some strange thing about your property, right? We different angles or, different narrow properties or curves, whatever. And there is a variance process for it. But for the most part, everybody should know what the rules are for that. And if we want to change those rules, we change them for everybody. Like, I think that's what Trustee Beckott's saying is to look at that. Maybe we're fine, we are fine with the wire straight down. Maybe we want to look and see what it looks like to have, the 24-foot entry and then taper out, or maybe the taper needs to be adjusted. If that's an
I
issue.
think you have to also look at, you got different neighborhoods, different price range, different requirements. I mean, you can't just have one standard for every single neighborhood in the town because all of the price ranges are different, and
Yeah, we want to treat, we're trying to treat every property that's the same. So regardless of how much
every
you're paying
property
for
that's
it,
the same, correct?
exactly, how much you're paying for it, regardless, right? We want your a property of this size,
Yeah.
we want to say this is what your standard is to it. We don't want to care about how much the property's worth or how much the materials are. We want to say, treat everybody the same if you have the same type of property, right? You have this size, the old part of Roscoe, there are smaller lots, so maybe there's a difference for those.
Right.
And there is a difference for those. You have a separate section here.
well, I would like to recommend that we should have continuity among all the driveways and whether it's a flare, it all should be decided at once rather than dealing with this. So to your point about changing the variances and doing it, I think we should look at it all at once. And set what the rule, people have stone driveways, should give it X amount of time to put in the right, but that all should be done at once. And have one standard for everyone, right? And what that looks like, we could have public comment too, as far as what people think that would be fair for the village.
I would just make one comment in addition to that. If we're gonna change the ordinance, I don't know how long that takes, but I think that's the right thing for the village to do, change the ordinance, because we have multiple people coming forward, going through this variance issue, but if that's the case, I would be inclined to approve this variance, given the zoning board didn't approve it because the ordinance they were tied to the ordinance, what was existing. And Dane was correct, in my opinion, not approving that because he was following what the ordinance said. What our opinion is, we should change the ordinance, but if that's gonna take 6 months, in my opinion, we should approve this variance. And the direction is to change the ordinance going forward, if that's go ahead. So
There's people
behind this gentleman that are gonna be then applying.
Exactly.
So I would recommend that we deny this, hurry up, revisit our ordinance and change it. And then he can come and apply again.
And that was my first recommendation. But I don't know how long this takes, Joe.
Well, it could take,
It's gonna take 30 days or 15 days plus the, so 15 days.
It was not 6 months.
So it's gonna take 3 months. And just,
On what basis would you make the decision that 24 feet, 30 feet, something in between?
How do you
I
decide
think
that?
what this board needs to decide is, on this, is generally what you want to see on front of houses. Do you want to see the whole width of the, I mean, really, it's, do you want to see the whole width of concrete and paving? All the way across, or do you want to see something less than that? Do you want to see, it very much is just the aesthetic of it, right? It's very much a visual thing. That's what you're looking at. So do you want to see, you know, an entryway, sort of consistent entryway across all of them? Or do you want to see something where you're gonna have different, you're gonna have a line of driveway or narrow driveway moving up? I mean, it really is. That's what the discussion should be. Is what you want to see for Roscoe across the
And
board.
I think it has a lot to do with how many garages you have.
Yeah, it should be tied to the.
I mean, you're not gonna make it 30 feet wide to get 2-car garage. But if you got a 3-car garage, now you're forcing people to move your cars to use the garage. I mean, that's what happens every day at our house. Somebody's gotta get out and move the car because you can't get the car out without someone else. You got 2 boys with cars and my wife and I have cars. You got 6 cars.
That's what makes it.
You're always jockeying around because you can't move it out. And I think it comes to this, not everybody's gonna wanna expand it to their 3 cars because that's cost of the construction, but those people who do, you know, certainly I think they're gonna spend whatever the money to, you know, make it look nice. Certainly that's what Chad did next to us, so.
So for tonight, is this gentleman here?
Yes,
yes,
Could you wait 3 months?
I wouldn't be able to get on the paving schedule for this year. So I would be forced to wait till next year. And the driveway is in disrepair right now.
What you're gonna risk is, it sounds like either a denial tonight. Or you wait 3 months, then we change the ordinance and then you can move forward. So are you willing to,
I would request that my fee stay current,
if we laid it over, it would? I believe,
but
right, Joe, if we just laid this over tonight,
I think
He could just come back
especially if we're gonna
without-
do a sort of a moratorium on it. Yeah, I think that's fair.
so my recommendation tonight would be to lay this over. And then to readdress, as William has said, the ordinance on the driveways. And we lay it over with his being the first one that can come back up and we can hold his fee. Until that time. And we can readdress this if it takes 3 months. We can do it as fast as we can, but it sounds like 3 months is the best.
There'll be a ZBA hearing and then we'll be committee and board, so.
Is that what I'm hearing? It sounds like that's what we kind of want to do. Address the ordinance. Yeah, for tonight, for this gentleman, we'll just lay it over. And he'll be the first one on the docket once we've come to a new conclusion. Okay, that's my motion. We lay this over until such time that we can.
I second that.
Once it's laid over,
Question, what do you do with those that come to you in the interim, people who are not part of this conversation right now and do not know what you've done? I think there, since we're in the height of the permitting season, what's your recommendation?
A moratorium on driveways until we can clean up the ordinance.
And those individuals who will plead a hardship that they have to get it in this season?
He is too, but I think if we're gonna change the ordinance, it's only fair that we just change the ordinance. And tonight, that's not before us. All that is before us tonight is this. So the only thing we can really act on tonight is this. With giving Joe the direction to bring the ordinance to us to be reviewed at our next meeting. That's all we can really act on. Unfortunately. I don't think we can
Well, I think at the next meeting, yeah, I mean, that's true.
Arbitrarily just do other things.
No,
correct?
what I meant was, is what direction or guidance would you give when those permits come in for approval? They
Well,
just simply.
are you saying the permits that come in for variances or just?
We have a lot of, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was gonna find the number.
We have a lot of driveway permits that come in. How many are exceeding this? I would guess not.
Not many. The vast majority of our permits are following the ordinance.
So they'll be granted.
Yeah.
They'll go right through.
It's just the ones that are.
And anybody looking for a variance, let them know that.
Yes, under
Could that
discussion, for
change?
the good reason, it's under discussion, it's gonna
So
solve. the problem.
Elias has a comment.
Okay.
Yes, sorry. It's just hard to tell via Zoom. I don't mean to cut anyone off. Board members, just a point of clarification. Any future code amendment cannot make any changes to the section of code that we have adopted with regard to the variance procedures and criteria. Those are established by state statute, so any change to that would be in non-compliance with state statute. What will have to happen is, as it has been discussed, but again, just to kind of clarify, because it seems like the variance language is kind of being thrown around. The variance language is what it is.
Yeah, I think the discussion is just what we want to see that driveway language look like. I think the board
Exactly.
wants to have a discussion about the driveway language itself. We're gonna lay over the variance at this point. So I guess suppose if the board decided to change, you wouldn't need a variance.
He wouldn't,
So,
he would just, right.
yeah.
Exactly.
If
It
it changes
changes
to
the
30,
weight.
it would just be able to move on.
That's what the goal is, the ordinance we need to fix, so people don't need to come forward.
Or discuss, right? I mean, we need to fix it, but we need to discuss it, because there's not right or wrong necessarily, so that's.
No.
Yeah, I think it's the board, but I do want the board to have that discussion though, and tell us what you want to look like, so I think we can put it next meeting. Assuming we have enough time on that, we'll have some time on there, a discussion of this topic specifically, of those driveway standards, we can show you what they look like, we can sort of give you an idea of what different options look like. And then you have that discussion, and then you can send it on to the ZBA for the formal change if you want to do that. So we have a motion to lay out over on the floor right now with a second. Motion's by trustee Millico, second by trustee Petty, to lay this over essentially, indefinitely, but for several months until we address the ordinance. So can I have a roll call vote?
Simon,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes,
Malaco,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes,
Should we lay over?
excuse me, small token, but thank you for going through the proper procedures as some of maybe other folks haven't.
You're welcome.
Item number 5, discussion recommendation, actually, I think we're set with the zoning stuff now, so you can sign off if you like. You can say I obviously too, but if you'd like to go. Item number 5 is discussion recommendation of the issuance of a special event permit for the Chicory Ridge garage sale. Event taking place 3 consecutive days, May 17th, 18th, and 19th of 2024. And I believe Vic is on, he can present this.
Yep, can you hear me?
yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Again, this event, real quickly, I'll try to get everybody wrapped up here. Is an event that's been going on in Roscoe for, this would be its 15th year. They average anywhere between 80 to 100 participants at the event, different homes in the Chicory Ridge subdivision. We have approval and oversight from Public Works, Police Department, and Harlem Roscoe Fire to make sure that we have emergency paths. We will be having no parking signs along Chicory Ridge Way and Meadow Suite all the way up to Angelica, trying to get the people coming into the middle of the subdivision and then kind of working their way out. That's kind of where we're at. It's been approved every year for the last 14 years. And I have one officer will be provided by the police department to work that, as well as myself through code enforcement will be out there for the event.
The motion to approve the.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve the special event permit for garage sale by trustee Patty, second by trustee Malco. Any discussion?
No, I think that we come to a good place with this. This is something where we have to in the future sort of work with Chicory Ridge to figure out how we can work together. And I don't think it's fair to just pop it on you like right before the things, but I think that we need, after the event, we should really start thinking about what does 2025 look like? How do we work together to make sure that we have, funding for police officers and things like that. But I think it's music. But I think that that's really something we should start looking to in the future, moving forward. Because it is a good event, we want to keep it going, but we want to just, we can work together on it. So, that's my comment.
Discussion? Otherwise, we have a motion, or we have a roll call vote.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malco,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
So we move on to the board for approval. May 7th. Yes. Item number 6, discussion and recommendation of the issuance of the special event permit with fireworks for the event known as Summerbury All World Machinery Supply Inc. The event will take place on June 22nd, 2024, at 6164 All World Way. And Wilder is here. Discuss this as well.
Hi again. This event has been an event that All World, a company in our community, has been putting on for 8 years. That is a host site for all 3 of their facilities to come out to. They do have food and entertainment, and part of their entertainment is a fireworks display by a licensed pyrotechnic company. That everything through the pyrotechnic has been approved by our Harlem Roscoe Fire Department. And the site has also been approved by our police department. And it seems like a good event. They have moved it up from later in the summer to June, just to make sure we don't have as much issues with the concern of drought. And everything where they're looking to shoot it off seems to be in a safe place. And Harlem Roscoe Fire Department has also said that they would also have a truck there during the pyrotechnic display.
Any discussion?
It is across the street.
So if we have a motion to approve the.
So moved.
Issue of a special permit, motion by trustee Patty, second by trustee Malaco. Any discussion about the event? Right, roll call please.
Wright,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Malco,
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Thank you. Back for approval at next board meeting. Public comment, is there any additional public comments, or is there any public comment? Approach up, you stand up and let us say your name.
Hi, I'm Alexander Whalen. I live next to Andy. We have a 3-car garage at cement. He wants to do cement. We have no problem with it next door. So I understand there's all the politics and everything going on, but as his neighbor, I think you guys should just approve it and then redo the whatever you gotta do in the meantime. He did it the right way. Previous homeowners for our house didn't do it the right way. There's plenty of other homes in our neighborhood that have the cement, looks great. And there's another house on Lismore, it is gravel on their 3rd car, it looks like trash. So I would like you guys to go back and motion to approve his permit for. Thanks.
No public comments. No presentations tonight, closed session, we have no need for closed session this meeting. Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Malaco, second by trustee Wright. Roll call.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malco.
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 8:28 p.m. Thank you, everyone.